This is the Yay or Nay Show with Alex C. A sports show for sports fans by a sports fan. And now, here is Alex C.
All right, here we go. It is the Yay or Nay Show with Alex C., a sports show for sports fans by a sports fan. First, let me start off with this. The Washington Commanders, that apparently is the new name of the Washington football team. Let me be the first one in America to say the name sucks. Doesn't it sound Little League to you? Doesn't it sound like you're getting ready to take your kid to go play Pop Warner football? And they're like, what kid does your team play for? Oh, he plays for the Commanders. That's a horrible name. They really didn't put any thought into this whatsoever, did they? Seriously, could you come up with a more childish sounding name, something non-professional? I mean, there are teams in the indoor arena football league that have better names than the Washington Commanders. That is absolutely an embarrassment. If I were a Washington football team fan, I'd be like, seriously, this is what we're going to call ourselves now? The Commanders? I don't know. I didn't even agree with getting rid of the original name to begin with. Let me go on record as saying that. I did not agree with getting rid of the original name to begin with, let alone changing it to this childish name, the Washington Commanders. Absolutely pathetic. Brian Flores. We all know he was a candidate for some NFL head coaching positions, and I'm sure you heard the news. You know, now there is questions in regards to what was going on with him and the interviews he was getting. So Brian Flores, he has sued the NFL and three teams, the Dolphins, the Broncos, and the Giants, alleging discrimination regarding his interview process with Denver and New York and his firing last month by Miami. But let me go in depth into this because there is a lot of there. First and foremost, before I even get into this, let me tell you, this is one of the few times I'm going to get out in front of the story and I'm going to tell you what my opinion is. And my opinion right off the bat is he has a legitimate case against the NFL. Now, it's going to be tough to prove. It's going to be hard for him to win. I guarantee that for a fact. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to win. These allegations are very, very difficult to prove. Even though you might have a front runner candidate for a job, you can still interview other people and see if somebody wows you. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're discriminating against them if you continue to move forward with the front runner for the job. However, the text messages from Bill Belichick ahead of Brian Flores' second interview makes it a little easier for him to prove it, which is also the same reason why I am saying there's a lot of there, and he's absolutely right. There is something wrong here. I am not, however, going to say that it is racism. It could be a situation, and this is why he's going to have a hard time in court. Could be a situation because if you look at the San Francisco 49ers, what did they do? They hired a tandem together, a general manager that came with a head coach. It's a copycat league. Teams see other teams do certain things and become successful, and you see other teams then follow that model. So you bring a guy from Buffalo who now is also going to bring a head coach from Buffalo. Hiring tandems. It's the new trend. It's the new thing. And again, even though you have a front runner, you're still going to go through the interviewing process of the original names that you had on your list. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to hire anybody that's on that list. You might still move forward with the tandem that you had originally in place. And just because you don't hire any of those candidates that you're still going to conduct your interviews with doesn't mean that you are discriminating against them necessarily, which is going to be why this is such a big gray area. It's going to be tough for Flores to prove his case. It's a tough case, but there is validity to the accusations. And there are teams that have absolutely not given minorities an opportunity to be in head coaching positions or in general manager positions. It's not always a case of race. There's a rhyme and a reason why they make hiring decisions in regards to who's going to be the general manager, in regards to who's going to be the head coach. Sometimes it could be a guy that's already within the organization. They were already a front runner. They still have to go through the interviewing process because actually that's the law. it's not necessarily a thing with minorities as much as it is. That's the law. You have to go through an interviewing process, even if you have a lead candidate in place. And with some organizations, they have somebody internally that they want to take the job, but they're still going to take the time to do their diligence. They're going to go through the interviewing process. They're going to eventually make their determination in regards to who the best person for the job is. And more often than not, it's going to be the guy who they have a comfort level with because they were already within the organization. Granted, there was a time where we had more African-American head coaches than we have now. But again, that doesn't necessarily equate to race being the reason why we don't have as many now as we once did. People get fired for a reason. Mostly it's because of losing. Sometimes it's because of bad management skills. You got to look at Harbaugh. Why did he get fired from San Francisco? They didn't like his managing style. Players didn't like him. Players didn't believe in him. They didn't believe in how he treated them, I should say. His system works. He's a winner. He's a proven winner. He's won everywhere he goes. But players couldn't necessarily get along with him. They let Harbaugh go. Look at the guy who came from Ohio State to take over the Jacksonville Jaguars. He got let go. Why? Didn't like his style. Didn't like the way he did things. Didn't like the baggage that came with him in regards to some things that took place at Ohio State. There are always rhymes and reasons why people get fired. It's not necessarily race related. This situation opens a conversation and opens a door, one that the NFL needs to have internally and externally, because there are obvious problems here. Yes, I understand why you would want to hire a general manager and a coach because they come in a tandem and they could possibly bring you the success that the 49ers have enjoyed. Yes, it's a copycat league, so I understand why you would want to do the copycat thing. People went to the Wildcat offense. Why? Because it worked in other places. They saw certain teams have success with it. Everybody started running it. Run and shoot offense. Remember that? Worked for one team, copycat league, everybody did it. But here is something that people need to follow and they need to look at and they need to copycat, which is look at Mike Tomlinson in Pittsburgh. Look at the tenure. Look at the success he has had as a head coach in the NFL. It would be nice to see other teams follow that and use that as a model in regards to hiring. Not necessarily saying you need to hire somebody because they're of an ethnic background, but let's be real, in every race, Asian, Indian, Hispanic, Latino, whatever, we tend to go by a lot of names. I'm 100% Hispanic, but sometimes we go by Latino. It depends on what part of the country you're in. Bottom line is, African American. Whatever the ethnicity is, there are great candidates. Let's try making sure that we interview people of all backgrounds to give them the opportunity to get these jobs. And then we will have a larger coaching pool, which would be much better than seeing the same old guys get regurgitated from team to team to team. Because it is hard to swallow when you see a guy who's failed at two teams and he still gets a third opportunity. It is hard to swallow. And it is hard to understand why is it when a guy has failed at two teams, he all of a sudden gets to get a third opportunity. And Brian Flores, let me go on record, because I am on record. I said it in my podcast. I said personally myself that Brian Flores should be fired from Miami. He wasn't doing a good job. Now, granted, I don't know the behind the scenes. We're going to get into that now in the story. I guess there's some behind the scenes stuff that we're going to get enlightened on. I'm going to get enlightened on. So there are certain things that are going to probably make me think twice about some of the things that I have said in the past. But let me go on record. I want to be upfront. I want to be forward. I said he should get fired. I didn't like the results they were getting in Miami. If you look at the record alone, he went backwards from the 1920 season to the 2021 season in regards to wins and losses. I didn't like the fact that they lost 7 in a row. I didn't like the fact that Miami was streaky. They would win in streaks and they would lose in streaks. And I don't like that. That's not what I like. However, even though I said Brian Flores should be let go from Miami, and I was out front before it ever happened, I didn't have the conversation after it happened. I said it before it ever happened, and nobody thought it was going to happen. I was probably one of the only people that said Brian Flores should get let go from Miami. However, once he got let go, everybody was in shock. Everybody was surprised. And I remember going on yet another podcast saying, oh, well, I'm not surprised because I said it should happen, and I can understand why they let him go. Again, There are more facts, there are more factors behind his release, and there are conversations that were had that we weren't privy to then that we're privy to now. It's still, if I look at it from a big blanket point of view, doesn't change my point of view. I think Brian Flores should have let go. But I also did say that he should and would probably get a second opportunity somewhere else because other coaches get it. Why would he not? Maybe it just wasn't the right place, the right time. Maybe the general manager and him just couldn't work hand in hand. Maybe ownership didn't agree with his philosophies or how he wanted to do things, and they wouldn't give him all the tools that he needed. That happens sometimes. That's why when you go to another team, sometimes when you get to the second team, you do better than you did at the first team. And I figured he would get another opportunity. It wasn't working in Miami. It didn't look good to me. I don't like teams that have streaks in wins and losses. However, when you look at the even bigger picture, now let's go over to the Arizona Cardinals. You got Cliff Kingsbury. Those teams start off hot, fail the second half of the season. The guy has a track record for doing that since he was a head coach in college football. 3 seasons with the Cardinals. He's been a failure as a coach, irregardless of the record going up in victories every year. You can't start off 10-1 and then fail the way they did this year and still have Cliff Kingsbury keep his job and Brian Flores lose his job. Obviously, that does raise some eyebrows, and it should. And I believe I'm the first one bringing this up because nobody else has brought this point up. But if you look at Cliff Kingsbury and the failure that he's been as a head coach for the Arizona Cardinals, and you look at Brian Flores and not quite the failure that Kingsbury has been, but similar situation in regards to streaky with wins, streaky with losses. Same problem with the Cardinals. Streaky with wins, streaky with losses, more seasons. And when you add in his college coaching, it's the same guy doing the same thing, only he did it in college for 6 years and now he's done it in the NFL for another 3. So you pretty much got a bad coach for the Cardinals getting to keep his job. Flores gets let go. These are things that raise eyebrows. And I understand why they would raise eyebrows. I want everybody to get an opportunity at a general manager, front office, or head coaching job. African Americans, Latinos, Hispanics. I want everybody to get a job. I want everybody to have the opportunity to get a job. And I want qualified candidates to get the job. Not the good old boy network, not this guy who worked with this guy, so I got a comfort level with this guy, even though he's already failed at 2 or 3 other places. I'm going to go ahead and give him a chance anyways. I don't like that. If the guy's been a failure at other places, it's time to bring another qualified candidate in. That's what needs to happen. That's what they need to do. All right, let's talk a little bit about this story here. Brian Flores, again, he sued the NFL. 3 teams were named, the Dolphins, the Broncos, and the Giants, again, alleging discrimination regarding his interview process with Denver and the Giants. And, of course, he is disputing the firing of his job from the Miami Dolphins. The 58-page lawsuit was filed in Manhattan federal court Tuesday and seeks class action status. Flores alleges that the Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross, attempted to incentivize him to tank on purpose and lose games shortly after he was hired in 2019. With Ross allegedly offering Flores $100,000 for every loss that season. Flores says that as the team won games late in the season, Dolphins general manager Chris Greer told him Ross was mad that the on-field success was compromising the team's draft position. Additionally, Flores alleges that Ross pressured him into recruiting a prominent quarterback at the end of 2019, which the coach refused so as not to violate the NFL's tampering rules. Ross then allegedly invited Flores on a yacht for a lunch in the winter of 2020, where he informed him that the quarterback was conveniently arriving at the marina for an impromptu meeting. Flores refused the meeting and left the yacht. Afterward, Flores alleges he was treated with disdain and held out as someone who was non-compliant and difficult to work with. He was fired January 10th, despite recording the Dolphins' first back-to-back winning seasons since 2003, 10-6 in 2020, 9-8 in 2021. Flores also alleged that the Giants interviewed him last month for their head coaching vacancy for no other reason than the compliance with the NFL's Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview minority candidates for their open positions. The league has amended that rule in recent years and now says teams must hold an in-person interview with at least one external minority candidate for any general manager or head coach opening. Flores alleged he spoke with the Giants via Zoom on January 18th prior to the team hiring former Buffalo Bills assistant general manager Joe Schoen as its GM on January 23rd. He said that the next day, Schoen finalized his interview date for January 27th, and Giants co-director of player personnel Tim McDonald texted Flores saying he hoped he would come in and win the effing job. However, hours later, Flores' lawsuit alleges he received a series of text messages from Patriots coach Bill Belichick, under whom Flores worked for 10 years in New England. In those texts, Belichick told Flores he had heard from Buffalo and New York that you are their guy. Flores asked Belichick to clarify whether he meant to talk to him or Brian Daboll, who was also in the running for the Giants job. Belichick acknowledged his error and informed him that the Giants wanted Daboll. Sorry, I effed this up. I double-checked and misread the text. I think they're naming Brian Daboll. I'm sorry about that, Belichick allegedly texted. Flores alleges that his January 27th interview with the Giants, which satisfied the Rooney Rule because he was the first minority candidate to interview in person, was a sham. New York hired Daboll, the former Bills offensive coordinator, a day later. Flores alleges that a similar scenario occurred when he interviewed with the Broncos for their head coaching job in 2019. Flores says that the then Denver general manager John Elway, among others, arrived to the interview an hour late and hungover, alleging they had been drinking heavily the night before. The Giants, Dolphins, and Broncos responded separately to the allegations Tuesday. The Giants said they were pleased and confident with their hiring process. We interviewed an impressive and diverse group of candidates. The team said the fact of the matter is Brian Flores was in the conversation to be our head coach until the 11th hour. Ultimately, we hired the individual we felt was most qualified to be our next head coach. The Dolphins vehemently denied the allegations against them while noting that they are proud of the diversity and inclusion throughout their organization. The implication that we acted in a manner inconsistent with the integrity of the game is incorrect, the team said. And the Broncos detailed their January 5th, 2019 interview with Flores, saying it started promptly at 7:30 a.m. in Providence, Rhode Island, lasted 3.5 hours, and was conducted with 5 team executives. Pages of detailed notes, analysis, and evaluations from our interview demonstrate the depth of our conversation and sincere interest in Mr. Flores as a head coaching candidate. The team said our process was thorough and fair to determine the most qualified candidate for our head coaching position. The Broncos will vigorously defend the integrity and values of our organization and its employees from such baseless and disparaging claims. Denver ultimately hired Vic Fangio for the position. That worked out great, didn't it? In the lawsuit, Widger Law LLP, the firm representing Flores, said the coach hopes to shine a light in the racial injustices that take place inside the NFL. Among the areas Flores said he would like to see addressed are increased influence of Black individuals in hiring, increase the objectivity of hiring, terminating GMs, head coaches, and coordinators, increase the number of Black coordinators, incentivize hiring, retention of Black GMs, head coaches, and coordinators, transparency of pay for GMs, head coaches, and coordinators, and the lawsuit seeks unspecified damages from the NFL, which called the claims without merit on Tuesday. Look, I can go deeper into this, but there's really no reason to. You get the gist of the story. I agree with Flores. Again, there is definitely a conversation to be had. Obviously, some certain changes need to be made. We got too much of the good old boy network in there, and I don't mean that as a racial comment as much as I do friends, family, and former coworkers. We got too much of that comfort level in there. We don't have enough fresh blood being interviewed. The only thing that I would personally dispute against in regards to, what Flores is asking for is why are we not including Latinos and Hispanics and Asians and other races in there? This should not just be about hiring African Americans, because you cannot tell me that there are no qualified candidates of other races available to be front office executives, general managers, or head coaches. No one, no way, no how can dispute what I just said in any way, shape, or form. And anybody that thinks they can, I will be more than happy anytime, any place, anywhere to have an open debate with you in the open public, so the open public can watch me and you go at it head to head, because there's no way in the world you could tell me that there are only 2 races of people qualified to be coaches, head coaches, general managers, or front office management in the NFL. Nobody. Nobody can tell me that that is the case at all. At all. So that is definitely another piece that needs to be added without a doubt. Without a doubt. But outside of that, I agree with him wholeheartedly. Absolutely 100%. Everything he said is correct. He's got a strong case. It's tough to prove. Certain aspects of it are not tough to prove. Obviously, Bill Belichick's text messages prove a lot. They already had their mind made up before they ever went through the interviewing process. Why waste somebody's time unless you were just trying to satisfy the Rooney Rule? I agree with that wholeheartedly. No doubt about it. There is a lot of there. He's got a great case. Certain parts of it are going to be hard to prove. Some pretty much are a cakewalk. But as far as, what the lawsuit is seeking, I agree. Except I believe that everybody needs an opportunity to be in the front office, to be a general manager, to be a head coach. Every race needs the opportunity to do this. And that's what I think needs to happen in the NFL. But I don't want to get any deeper than what I've already said. I think I made my point clear in regards to what I feel. But again, I don't dispute his claims at all. In no way, shape, or form. I'm just saying the demands need to be a little more broadened than what they currently are in regards to what's being asked for. Another thing really quickly I wanted to go into. So Tom Brady retired, obviously, on Tuesday. Everybody knows that, 22 seasons. And I found this, I thought it was really cool. So basically, from all 32 teams, they're talking about what they think Tom Brady's best moments against all 32 teams are. So let's start with the Buffalo Bills. November 18, 2007. The Bills won't be sorry to see the last of Brady, who finished his career with a 33-3 record against Buffalo. A number of games could fit here, but in the Patriots' 56-10 rout in Orchard Park, New York, Brady threw 5 touchdowns and completed 31 of 39 passes for 373 yards to start the season 10-0. Brady has referred to the game as a perfect night. Guaranteed Buffalo Bills not going to be missing Tom Brady. Miami Dolphins, October 21st, 2007. The Dolphins have more wins against Brady than any other NFL franchise, but that doesn't mean they're sad to see him go. During the Patriots' 16-0 season, Brady roasted Miami for 354 yards and set a career-high throwing more than 6 throwing touchdowns of 6 and only 4 incompletions. Sorry, it was written a little funny there. His 84% completion percentage and perfect 158.3 passer rating that day are also career best. All right, the New England Patriots, October 3rd, 2021. When Brady ran out of the tunnel as a Buccaneer for his first and only return to Gillette Stadium since departing after 20 years, the stadium erupted like it was a Super Bowl. Then Brady went on to do what he often did, lead his team to win over his former team, the New England Patriots. That was October 3rd, 2021. The New York Jets, September 23rd, 2001. It wasn't Brady's greatest moment, per se, but it was his first moment when the Jets linebacker Mo Lewis knocked down Drew Bledsoe out of the game with a vicious but legal hit. Some players called it the loudest tackle they ever heard. It provided Brady with his first real opportunity to play. His late game comeback attempt fell short. The Jets won 10-3, but Brady won the next week, and off he went. In a sense, the Jets started Brady's legendary career. September 23rd, 2001. Baltimore Ravens, January 10th, 2015. In another classic postseason game against the Ravens, Brady threw for 367 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 35-31 victory in the AFC divisional playoff game, rallying the Patriots from a 14-point second-half deficit. On the winning drive, Brady completed 8 of 9 passes and even ran for a first down. Cincinnati Bengals, September 12th, 2010. 3 days before the 2010 season opener against the Bengals, Brady was involved in a 2-car accident, but he showed up to practice and later that day signed a 4-year contract extension. Then he threw for 258 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Bengals in a 38-24 win. I'm glad it's over, but it was a good week, Brady said. Cleveland Browns, October 9th, 2016. In his return after serving his 4-game Deflategate suspension, Brady looked as sharp as ever against the Browns, showing no rust. He passed for 406 yards and 3 touchdowns as the Patriots hammered Cleveland 33-13. Brady went on to win another Super Bowl that season, improbably rallying New England from a 28-3 deficit against the Falcons. Pittsburgh Steelers, January 23rd, 2005. Brady had his Michael Jordan flu game moment in the 2004 AFC Championship game against the Steelers. The night before the game, Brady battled a high fever, but he came out the next day in frigid temperatures. He threw 2 touchdowns in a 41-27 victory and beat the 15-1 Steelers. AFC South, let's talk about the Houston Texans, September 24th, 2017. Brady threw 5 touchdowns in the Week 3 game against the Texans, and he needed all 5 for the win. After the Texans kicked a field goal with 2 minutes and 24 seconds left in the game to go up 33-28, Brady led the Patriots down the field and threw a 25-yard touchdown pass to wide receiver Brandon Cooks with 23 seconds left to win the game. Indianapolis Colts, November 18th, 2012. You would like to think it was one of the head-to-head battles against Peyton Manning. Those games actually were Manning against Bill Belichick's defense. Brady's best statistical game in a victory over the Colts came in Andrew Luck's rookie season, in a game in which Brady basically let Luck and the Colts know it wasn't the rookie time to take over the NFL yet. The Patriots quarterback was 24 of 35 for 331 yards and 3 touchdowns in New England's 59-24 victory. Jacksonville Jaguars, January 21st, 2018. Brady rallied the Patriots from a 10-point fourth quarter deficit in the AFC Championship game in Gillette Stadium. Brady threw 2 TD passes to Danny Amendola, but the comeback maybe doesn't happen if Brady doesn't complete a 21-yard pass to Amendola on a 3rd and 19. Brady threw a 9-yard TD pass to Amendola 4 plays after that conversion that cut the Jaguars' lead to 2017. His 4-yard TD pass to Amendola with 2:48 to play was the winning score and sent the Patriots to the Super Bowl. Tennessee Titans, October 18, 2009. Brady threw for 380 yards and 6 touchdowns in a 59-0 win over the Titans in the snow at Gillette Stadium. His 6 TD passes tied the career high that he previously set against the Dolphins in Week 7 of the 2007 season. The Denver Broncos, January 24, 2016. For some, the Brady-led comeback from 24-0 down during the 2013 season with 344 yards and 3 touchdowns to beat the Broncos in overtime is the one. But for the Broncos, who faced him plenty, Denver's AFC Championship game win on the way to the Super Bowl 50 is the game that showed all that Brady was as a competitor. One of the best defenses of Super Bowl era battled Brady like never before. 4 sacks, 20 quarterback hits, and yet he still had a chance to tie the game with 12 seconds remaining when a pass for a 2-point conversion was intercepted by the Broncos' Bradley Roby. Kansas City Chiefs, January 20th, 2019. Brady threw for 348 yards in leading the Patriots to a 37-31 overtime win in the AFC Championship game. He was at his best in the fourth quarter and overtime when he completed all 5 of his passes on 3rd down, with the Patriots converting each time. The Las Vegas Raiders, January 19th, 2002. The Tuck Rule game, of course. The legend of Brady and the Patriot dynasty was born in the snow in this AFC divisional playoff matchup. The last game ever played at Foxborough Stadium with a minute 50 left in regulation and the Patriots trailing 13-10. Brady was strip sacked by Charles Woodson until the Tuck Rule was invoked. Brady kept the Patriots marching to a game-tying field goal before leading them to a sudden death game-winning field goal in overtime. Even new Raiders coach Josh McDaniels, then with the Patriots, said it was a fumble, albeit 20 years and 12 days later. The LA Chargers, October 4th, 2020. The Chargers got out of a 17-point lead against the Buccaneers, and Brady threw for 369 yards and 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers to rally for a 38-31 victory. At the time, it was the 5th largest comeback in his career. The Dallas Cowboys, October 16th, 2011. The Cowboys never beat Brady. 0-6. He had 5 touchdown games. He had a 5 touchdown game against Dallas in 2007 with the Patriots and 4 touchdown games against Dallas in 2021 with the Buccaneers. But his greatness was never more on display than in 2011, trailing 16-13 with 2:31 to play. There was a feeling of inevitability when Brady came on the field after a poor Cowboys drive that could have iced the game. He completed 8 of 9 passes for 78 yards, hitting Aaron Hernandez for an 8-yard touchdown with 27 seconds left to play and a 20-16 New England win. The New York Giants, February 3rd, 2008. Memorable for Brady, just in the wrong way. This was the undefeated season ruined. We're only going to score 17 points, Brady said beforehand with a chuckle. Yep, the 18-0 Patriots only scored 17 points in the first of 2 Super Bowl losses to his nemesis, Eli Manning and the Giants. February 4th, 2018, the Philadelphia Eagles. Brady set a record with 505 passing yards against the Eagles in Super Bowl while tossing 3 touchdowns, and it still wasn't enough. His counterpart, Nick Foles, threw 3 touchdowns and caught another on the Philly special trick play, helping to deliver the first Super Bowl title to the city of Philadelphia. One of the most memorable images from that game is Brady sitting dejectedly on the field, hands on his knees, following Brandon Graham's game-sealing strip sack. He was 1-1 against the Eagles in championship games as the Patriots bested Philly 24-21 in 2005. Washington football team, now the Commanders, October 28, 2007. Brady threw for 306 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 52-7 win. But know this, Washington entered the game 4-2 with a defense ranked 3rd in scoring and 5th in yards allowed. Washington was determined to take away big plays from Brady, playing single high safety Sean Taylor 20 to 25 yards off the ball. Brady wasn't bothered and methodically picked the defense apart. He attempted just 3 passes of 20 air yards or more. Washington's defense finished the season 11th in scoring and 8th in yards. The Chicago Bears, October 8, 2020. In one of his rare high-profile mistakes, Brady lost track of downs with 38 seconds remaining as he tried to bring the Buccaneers back from a 2019 deficit after a low-percentage pass to tight end Cameron Braille. Fell incomplete on 4th down. Brady held up 4 fingers as if he thought he had one more play remaining. He eventually admitted to the blunder. December 26, 2020. Although the legend of Brady started in Ann Arbor as a former Michigan quarterback, he didn't take it easy on the Lions in his last trip to Detroit. Brady and the Buccaneers beat down the Lions 47-7 before resting the entire second half. Brady completed 22 of 27 passes for 348 yards and 4 touchdowns in his first half as the Buccaneers took a 34-0 lead. The victory also helped Tampa Bay seal a postseason spot for the first time since 2007. The Green Bay Packers, January 24, 2021. Brady led the Buccaneers into Lambeau Field and upset the Packers and advanced to the Super Bowl. He uncharacteristically threw 3 interceptions, but the third of his 3 touchdown passes gave the Buccaneers a 28-10 lead early in the third quarter. Overall, he completed 20 of 36 passes for 280 yards. The Minnesota Vikings, December 13, 2020. The Vikings are one of the 4 teams, Atlanta, Dallas, and New England, to have never beaten Brady. Minnesota is 0-6 all-time against the GOAT, and none of those losses was even close. In 2020, Brady threw for 2 touchdowns in his sole meeting against the Vikings, while with Tampa Bay, which helped and the Bucs rebound from losing 3 home games to begin late season winning streak that ended with Brady's last Super Bowl victory. Atlanta Falcons, February 5th, 2017. This one is obvious and might be one of the best Brady moments of all time, regardless of team. Brady led the Patriots back from down 28-3 in the middle of the third quarter to win the Super Bowl in overtime, 34-28. It's a game, a moment that still brings Atlanta fans basically crying to their knees, and it is brought up every March 28th and mentioned anytime a team has a 28-3 lead against another team. Brady has a massive day too, throwing 466 yards and 2 touchdowns in leading the Patriots to the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history. Carolina Panthers, February 1st, 2004. The Panthers had just completed a comeback to tie the Patriots at 29-29 with 1 minute and 8 seconds remaining in the Super Bowl. Brady's already amazing day was made somewhat easier when John Casey's ensuing kickoff went out of bounds, giving New England the ball at their own 40. From there, Brady completed 4 or 5 passes to set up Adam Vinatieri's game-winning kick with 4 seconds left. He finished with 354 yards passing and 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. The New Orleans Saints, January 17th, 2021. The Saints actually had Brady's number for most of his stint in the NFC South, winning all 4 of their regular season meetings. However, Brady and the Buccaneers won the one game that mattered most, his only career playoff game against New Orleans and longtime counterpart Drew Brees. Brady threw 2 TD passes and ran for another in a 30-20 divisional round victory in the Superdome, then went on to win his 7th Super Bowl ring at age 43. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, October 6, 2017. It wasn't a great day for Brady, who threw for 303 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception to beat the Bucs 19-14. But It was what he did after the game that resonated. He sought out quarterback Jameis Winston, and the two talked for several minutes in the tunnel. It was their first time meeting. It was an honor. I told him thank you a lot, Winston said. That's a blessing, man, to meet someone like that. I dream to be able to be the type of quarterback he is for his team, for our team. Arizona Cardinals, September 19, 2004. Believe it or not, Brady faced the Cardinals only twice, winning one and losing one. Neither game was all that memorable, though the 23-12 win in 2004 came in week 2 and was part of a 14-2 Patriots surge that ended with them claiming another Super Bowl championship against the Eagles. Brady threw a pair of touchdowns in this meeting, which was the only game he ever started in the Valley of the Sun. February 3rd, 2002, the LA Rams. Choosing between 2 Super Bowl wins is like asking Brady to choose a favorite child, but it's only right to take this back to where the legend of Brady began. In his second year, Brady led the Patriots to a meeting with the high-powered Rams, and with the game on the line, took the Patriots on a 53-yard drive in the final 1 minute and 30 seconds left to set up the game-winning field goal in what was considered a significant upset. Brady took home his first Lombardi Trophy and first Super Bowl MVP. San Francisco 49ers, December 16, 2012. This might be one of the few losses that appear on this list, but it was far more memorable than the other 2 times Brady played his favorite childhood team, both wins. The Niners jumped all over Brady's Patriots to take a 31-3 lead, but as Brady did so many times in his career, New England came storming back to tie it at 31. The 49ers eventually won it 41-34, but Brady attempted a career-high 65 passes, completing 36 for 443 yards in one of the most entertaining games of the season. And finally, we got February 1st, 2015, Seattle Seahawks. Malcolm Butler's goal line interception of Russell Wilson is the indelible memory of the Patriots' 28-24 win over the Seahawks in Super Bowl. But it was Brady who led the New England team back from a 10-point fourth quarter deficit against an all-time great defense. With touchdown passes that capped 9 and 10 play drives, Brady's 4 TD passes in all were his most in any of his 10 Super Bowl appearances. It had been 10 years since Brady's last Super Bowl title, so this victory marked his return to the top of the football world. And those are the 32 most memorable moments against each of the 32 teams in the NFL. That is going to do it for today's podcast. You guys have a great day. We will do it all again tomorrow. It's the Yay or Nay Show with Alex C.